Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. Today I would like to show you how to add demand to the model. I'm going to use the previous overpass or interchange model I used. We will make some tweaks to it and we will do some troubleshooting, and I will use dynamic assignment and matrices to add the demand. So what we need to do first is work out the number of zones we want to use. So I will use a zone for this part, this part, this part, and this part, and we'll add a separate zone to this little access road. So we go to traffic dynamic assignment zones. I add 5 zones. I add the name north, south, east, west, and access. We use parking lots to load vehicles into the model from the zones. So we go there and we place it. So you hold down the control button and right click. You release it, you set it to zone connector, you set the zone. You can add the name. This is north. Since this is an exit link, you don't need to deal with desired speed, but it's important to remember that in dynamic assignment, when you use zones, vehicles will be loaded into the network using the desired speed decision setting here at the parking lot settings. If you have one here that is used, and if you have, you can add for each vehicle class a separate one, then that will be used. That will override that one. But we are not going to use this here, just the desired speed. And since it is exit link, it doesn't matter what you add. And since it is exit link, relative flow should be 0, otherwise you get an error message. What relative flow is? Relative flow, when you have an entry parking lot or an entry zone, and this is the north, let's say, and assuming there is another parking lot which has the same zone like north, let's say there is another link like here, and the relative flow between the two parking lots will define the split, how traffic is loaded. So if you have 1,000 vehicles in an hour, for example, then from the two car parks, if both has a relative flow of 1, that means it will be split 50-50. So 500 will come from there, 500 will come from there. And speed matters here because this is an entry link. And in this case, the relative flow must be greater than 0. Otherwise, there will be an error message saying that if there is no other parking lots with at least one parking lot with the same zone with a greater relative flow of 0, then you will get the message that there is no route can be found for vehicles to enter. So let's put it to zone connector. We also, let's deal with the zones later. So let me just add that one here. So that is an entry one. This is the east. So speed is 70 here. This is just an assumption. I didn't check what is the actual speed. It doesn't matter for this example. Relative flow 1, zone connector. Okay, and just pay attention. So when I start placing the car park, it places it over a lane, or you can move it into 2. But if you do that, when you click to zone connector, it fills the whole link. So it will be a link based instead of a lane based car park. This is an exit, so it doesn't matter. The speed, the relative flow must be 0, and the zone is east. This is an exit, the access link zone connector, that is 0, as we learned before. This is access, no desired speed, it doesn't matter in this case. I add another one here, that's gonna be our west, and that is zone connector, this is an exit, so 0, in relative flow is 1, zone connector, this is request, and this is an entry one, so it is 70. All right, at last but not least, we just add this there. This is an exit, so 0, zone connector, south. It doesn't matter. The speed. So you hit OK. Then the last is the entry, so it is 1. The speed is 80 as it is in the north. It's a zone connector, and this is the south. We need to add nodes. So whenever you use dynamic assignment, you always need to add zones. Sorry, nodes. So a car park or a parking lot always needs to be located within 2 nodes. Otherwise, Vissim can't generate the edge network or the structure. So in terms of settings here, so when you place a node, you can select it for evaluation and for dynamic assignment. For this case, dynamic assignment must be selected. If you want to use for evaluation purposes, you need to select this one as well. I don't want to use it for that, but it doesn't matter. The shape doesn't matter. So you hold on Control and keep kicking with the left, and when you finish, you just double click. Yeah. Let's do it here. As you can see, you can cover with the same node. Actually, both. And what needs to happen? So the node needs to cover the center. So if I switch to wireframe, it can be like this. Yeah, it can be like that as well. I just don't like it. Here you add as well for the access. You don't need to add a node to the inside if you have a node, let's say here, or if you have a node over the whole interchange for evaluation purposes. It can be like this as well. It won't make a difference. I just nice if it is tidied up and there is an order. The only place when it matters is if I go to dynamic assignment and go to edges. You can create dynamic assignment graph, which you hit right click. So what you see is it creates edges. So basically it shows an edge for each possible movement. And what you can do is if you don't like one, you can just close it. Then it won't be available and it shows in red. It is shown in red. Yeah. In this case, it doesn't matter because I don't want to block any routes. But with that, you can control a dynamic assignment very easily. Or not to control, maybe that's the wrong word, to set up the right way and to remove unrealistic movements. We can place some nodes or some of the intersections so we can do some evaluation later. But it doesn't need to be, it's just so we can do this. And it is also important that nodes can't overlap each other if they use the same setting. So if you use a node for evaluation, you can't have another node overlapping which also uses evaluation. Same goes for dynamic assignment. You can't have 2 nodes overlapping. Let's say I can't put something like this and use the same settings like that, or with this, or like this. Okay, then I check simulation parameters. Start time is 7 o'clock and it runs for an hour, 3.6 thousand seconds. So I go to dynamic assignment matrices. I create a matrix. I set up the time, 7 to 8, so it's going to be 1 hour matrix. Whatever data you fill in here is going to be, so let's say I put 2000 vehicles, that 2000 vehicle is for the period, not per hour. So if it is from 7 to 9, if it is from 7 to 9, that there will be 1000 vehicles per hour loaded to the model. So I just put 2000 there. You can also use, can make these columns bigger or wider or narrower. Same here. If you want to view it bigger, it also provides you the totals on the left and on the top. So I just put some low vehicle numbers just randomly. So from north there will be 100 vehicle to the access road, 300. You can also do copy paste, Control C, Control V, or you can copy and paste like that. What you can also do, you can select the whole or you can select certain areas. And if you do equal multiplied by 1, then it multiplies those. So you can manipulate those numbers as you wish. Yeah. Then we go to traffic, vehicle composition. There is a default already set up. We are going to use that. Just please note that this desired speed setting here, it is not applicable when you use this vehicle composition as in a matrix, because when you load vehicles from a matrix, that will use these values or these values if you have it set up for each vehicle class separately. So we go to dynamic assignment parameters and we need to add the matrix. So we select matrices, add, and we select matrix number 1. Vehicle composition, we select default, that's the one we have. We can scale the volume if you want, but let's just keep it as 100. Evaluation interval, cost file, path files, check edges, these are, and also create archive files, store cost and path, these are better to just turn on. Just use the default settings what you have. Of course, you can change these if you have your reason, but not at this stage probably. So let's do OK. We go back to simulation. So simulation, just let's have a quick look at the settings. So simulation resolution is 10. That means there is a 10 step in each simulation second. The more step you have, the more resolution you will have basically in your run. But default is fine. Of course, if you only have 5, the model will run 2 times faster or much faster, since it has less things to calculate. But it can also alter your results. It's better to stick with the default. Or if you build a model and you validate it with a smaller setting, let's just keep using that. But I think this 10 is fine. There might be some authorities who recommend a slightly different number. You probably want to stick with those in those cases. Random seed is 42. It is just an input for the random generator. This random generator is basically assign certain values within the distributions you set. So let's say if it's a speed distribution from 40 to 50, and the actual number it assigns to a vehicle, that depends on the generator. You want to use, if you run multiple simulations to evaluate your runs, let's say you run 5 to average the results, then it is advised to use this random seed increment or manually run 5 separate runs and just change this number. It doesn't really matter which number you pick, just pick a different one. Or if you use the random seed increment, if you run a 5-run multi-run, in the first run it will be 42, then 43, 44, and so on. If it is 10, that will be 42, then 52, then 62. We only run one simulation in this case. If you have a settings here, let's say 10%, what this does, if you have a multi-run and you reduce your the matrix volume in the parameters here, if you run a multi-run, that can increase it back. And it will stop at 100. So if, let's say, if you put it to 60, you select 10 here and you put a 10 number of runs, it will increase it up to like from 60 to 70, 80, 90, 100, and then it stops at 100. Simulation speed, you can set it to a certain factor, like 10 times the real time, so it will be a factor of 10. Of course, it uses it if your computer is fast enough to run it that fast, or you just use maximum. Retrospective, it just synchronizes the steps and the video screen and stuff. Break at, you can pause the simulation, but I wouldn't use it here. And you can use all cores. You can use this break at option here actually, and you can just put it in seconds and it converts it to time, or you can put it to time and it can convert to seconds. It depends on what settings you have down there. I will show you how to use it. So what we do is we try running it and see what errors we have, what did we miss or forget. So it seems the model runs. We can switch off nodes. We can go to 3D mode. You can see here there is some drama going on. That is a mistake I left in, so we will sort that out. Let me stop it. Let's see. There are 8 warnings. So simulation second 92. That vehicle reached the end of the link without finding the subset link 130. Then let me just make it bigger. Then also on link 10034 and 129, there are some errors. So let's have a look at those. What happens is, previously I did not change the emergency lane stop position from 5. So what happens, the vehicle comes in this lane or in this lane, and they can't change lane within this section or before, like that, they can't get into that, and they stuck here. And since it's a solid line, they can't change the lane. So what we do is we increase it maybe to 50 meters. So the vehicle will stop if it can't change lane and wait up until that point. So if it comes and then someone is next to it and it can't change lane, it will stop and wait until there's a gap, and then it will change lane, and then it will change lane. So that's why you need to be careful with these solid lines. Okay, let's look at the run now. So here you can control the speed. You can see here the in simulation second time or in real time. You can double click that. Here it shows the speed, the factor. It's on 26. So it runs basically 30 times faster than the real time and the number of vehicles and pedestrians in the network. Let's just stop and see the remaining warnings. So reach the link 5 without finding the subsequent link of 130 and 125. So let's have a look what is link number 5. I bring up the list by right click the links. I can just zoom there. So what happens? The vehicle gets loaded into the network, probably in this lane, and it can't get into here. Or the vehicle gets loaded in this lane and can't get into here because they are going too fast and this resolution and everything just not enough, the distance. So what we do, we try to resolve the problem by extending it. We shouldn't forget moving the car park, the nodes. Yeah, like that. Let's try to run it again. If I put the quick mode, it removes all vehicles, but it runs much faster. Okay, there is no error, but let me just run it a bit for longer. If you watched the previous video, what I forgot to do, since we are using z coordinates, it is advised to, well, we want to take into account the gradient we already put in the model. So when we select this connector, which is going uphill, if you come here to see the gradient is 0, but there is, if I show you in 3D, there is a gradient there built into the connector. So what you want to do is you want to go to network settings and set it to z coordinates. So link gradient is based on the z coordinates. Or if you don't select that, the default is attribute gradient, but then you need to go to the connector and you need to set it to you need to set the gradient. Okay, let me run it a bit further. Okay, stop. And as you can see, there is no more warnings or errors. So I hope this was a helpful video for you. If I missed something or you want to discuss any of these, or if you have recommendations, please comment. And to support the channel, I would appreciate if you like and subscribe. That would help to make the YouTube algorithm a bit nicer on my channel. And that would help. Thanks a lot for watching and see you the next time.